In the building, I tell you when we in the building. Yep, we are live now. Yes, you guys can hear me well, right? Yeah. All right, so we are live. If as you're coming in the building, if you guys can hear us, make sure you hit the like button, share it out, and go ahead and get everybody up and get them over here because y'all see who I got in the building. Y'all see who I got in the building. Facing y'all, it'll be to my right. Okay, so we got the sound is there. All right, let me share this out to the public here. Share this out to the public as promised, man. I'm telling y'all, as promised. Welcome to Andrews the podcast. We delivered, y'all. Said we'd have the mayor in here tonight, and by George, we have him here with us. Half sleep, yep, because for $560 a month, a lot of work is involved in that. All right, let's get this out there. All right, now let's go. Let's get this shared out. Come on. Welcome to Andrews, the podcast. Andrews SC News. Somebody share this over there on Andrews SC News. Matter of fact, I'm going to share it over there right now so that they get this. Come on. Let's see, share it to a page or to a group. Maybe it's to a page. Nope, that's not it. Anyway, y'all share this out. Y'all go ahead and get this shared out. So I got in the building tonight. Y'all, this is awesome. We got a live studio audience. I have the Honorable Mayor of Andrews, Mr. Frank McClary. And from the Oatland Dunbar community, I have Ms. Pelor Richards in the building, the owner of Gullah Gifts and Goods, and also a sponsor. And she did listen to what I was saying last night. Y'all see that? I got 1, 2, 3. I got enough juice to get me through the show tonight. So I want to thank her for doing that. And let me give you guys a proper welcome to the podcast. There we go. Again, y'all share this out. Now, we're going to have a conversation here tonight. Of course, you see we got the mayor here. And I do want to get into some of the trash that I see on Facebook. We want to talk about that and deal with some of it directly. I think, in my opinion now, and again, I don't speak for the town, but it's a coward approach to come on Facebook and hide behind that keyboard and, express those feelings that you have and not show up to town council meeting and all this other stuff. So please share, hit the like button. I see we got some people in the building so far. So please go ahead and hit that like button as we get into this part of it. So without further ado, I want to let my guests introduce themselves. You already know who they are, but I want you to go ahead and starting right here with the mayor. Oh, excuse me, ladies first. I apologize. Sorry about that.
She's the guest today.
There you go. Welcome to Andrews.
Y'all see how they doing me in Andrews, right? Y'all see how they doing me in Andrews. But hello, everyone, and welcome, and I'm glad to be here. I am Pelor. If you don't know who I am, I'm Pelor. Follow me, Gullah Goods and Gifts, and I'm also a business owner here in Georgetown with Rich River Tours. Rich River Tours. The river is calling, guys. Gotta answer.
Good. Welcome. And I'm Frank McClary there at the town of Andrews. And happy to be here and be on the Andrews podcast with Mrs. Jamal Richardson. I look forward to this rich conversation we're going to have tonight about some very, very important things that's going on in town. And so we look to have some of your input as well. So happy to be here.
Okay, Mayor, right off the bat, I was supposed to have that picture so I could share it on the screen, but I don't have it on the picture. But the Andrews sewer and water situation, I know there was just a situation where you guys ended up having to work around the clock. Can you bring the citizens up to date as to what it is that's going on with that situation?
Of course. Well, the problem is fixed, and I think it's important to understand that. And continue to reiterate that we have one of the oldest systems. So we own and operate our water and sewer system here in town. And a lot of things haven't been updated over time, several decades, I should say. And so we just, as much as our finances can support, we're updating those things, but we can't keep up with the demands right now. So what happened last, I think, this past Wednesday night or Thursday night? Yeah, we had a line break right there by the railroad track. Now, understanding the particulars in of the CSX railroad, you can't do any operations within 176 or 136 feet without approval. And so that sensitivity of that, where this break occurred, and unfortunately, it was 3 areas that we had an issue within a foot of it, and those plugs or those taps got pulled out, and so there's no ability to isolate the problem. So then we had to find places where we can at least turn the valve off, and that caused some outage in some of the areas on the east side of town. Again, to try to reduce the pressure, so we can work on this thing. Very difficult area to work in, and so the crew again. I want to say thanks to the hard work that's coming from the Andrews Public Works Department. They were out there, they fought this thing all night. We were out there in the hole getting this thing done. So it's not uncommon. This happens. Old towns, there's 271 municipalities in this state, and the majority of them have old systems and they have some of the same challenges. Now, we have our fair share. But again, I want to say thanks to our Public Works for the hard work. And anytime that there is an outage, whether it's water or sewer, if sewer is on the ground, I'm there. Water, if it's going to cause a loss of water service to people, I'm there. In this particular case, I was there and got in and helped these folks, help our team out to get this thing done. It took us some time again because this is the only area that I've experienced where we have this thing called, I guess it's called sugar sinking. So this sand, as much as you move, it fills back in, which make it very difficult to work around the problem area. So as quick as we can get the sand out, it's back in there. And now you're talking about putting a band around a 6-inch pipe with water, sometimes two feet above the pipe. And, we got it pumped down, but then again, the sand is battling that thing. So it's a very, very delicate situation, which took us about 12 hours, I believe, if not more, to fight this thing. And then when we get the band on it, if it's not sealed properly, because now you still have debris in between the band and the pipe itself, it's not going to seal properly. So we had to fight that thing under pressure. And again, it's very high risk to do those kind of operations, so you have to take the time. And again, I commend the workers for Public Works Director for their effort in getting it done. And the problem is that, I think I saw some of the comments about the communication piece, and I agree we can get this out as quick as possible. There's no way, I don't care what size the job is, to determine how long it's going to take. And I know that's people's number one, when are we going to get our service back? We understand the impact. It's just nothing we can do about it right there. And I agree with those who made the comment in terms of communicating. But when I'm in the hole and have to be, it's hard for me to sit and talk. I don't have the comfort of sitting back and communicating.
Hold on. All right, you said have to be.
Yeah.
So is that in the mayor's description that you gotta be? I thought it was for Public Works.
I
Like,
don't want to be that. I'm with you.
I agree with you, but let me explain the leadership. To those who haven't been in these positions, I don't care whether it's as a mayor or in corporate, if you're short personnel and there's a problem to be, fixed, and it's your responsibility, you can't delegate responsibility. You can delegate authority, but you can't delegate responsibility. And so when we're short and have, not the experience we need, then guess what? I'm going to be there. I don't do it for fun. We have enough people on the ground that can handle it.
apparently you don't do it for funds either.
Now I understand what you were saying.
About the 560, and that's why I get so defensive about my mayor, is because I'm in a position where I get to see what is going on, and I granted, I understand that the people on the other side, they don't get to see it and they don't know, so that's why I'm always stressing it, because I've had people who've been less informed, let's just say that, and then when I say, well, and they said it's $560, oh man, he crazy, man, that's so and again, I don't it's not that people are going to be critical if you have something legitimate to complain about. But what I see in situations like this also is that, especially when it comes to the local media, and I said, well, I wasn't going to talk about them, but I'm going to talk about them, is that these situations, the way they get covered. So take, for example, Georgetown just had a situation with their water situation, right? Where they had a bacteria or whatever. And of course, the local online newspaper, went there and
Covered the
story. And when you say cover the story, now he'll come to this side of town and he'll find the most disgruntled citizen, and then he'll put that out as if that's the
overall for the vast majority of people.
And so that's one of the big issues that I have with them, because again, they're dealing with the same situation, an aging system. Okay, so Andrews, and then I'm sitting here. You guys check out the new mugs right here. They'll be online for sale here pretty soon. Gotta get that plug in there. But when you came to this, like, give us a idea of how old this system is and some of the reoccurring issues that you find with the system.
Well, again, understanding the system, our water and sewer systems, respectively, are 25 miles of pipes. That's both for the water and sewer. That covers a 2.2 square mile, and outside of our services, we provide service as far out as Gap Bay Road, down to Sid Harvey, and then across the County Line Road to some citizens and residents of the Williamsburg County side. And so it's a lot of pipe. And we're still finding clay pipes. Clay pipes have been, out of the system for a very long time. But if you didn't update them, you're talking maybe about 50, 60 years, and we're still finding clay pipes. You got asbestos pipe in some cases, and so you can Google and see when those things become phased out of the infrastructure, then you'll have a better understanding. So we're right now still in that process of phasing them out. Now, again, that is a very expensive process, very expensive. So you can't do it all at one time. And then when you're met with other challenges and other needs, I should say, which are some challenges, then you have to balance with your budget. You just don't have all the money to do it all. So it's about prioritization. And so we take advantage of grants and things out there. But to your question, there is a tremendous amount of pipe that still needs to be updated, and you just can't do it all at once. And so we go after those things, and then in the meantime, you continue to repair those that you can, and don't have to replace right now. Establish the maps, because we didn't even know the.
Yeah, that's a part of this that once I realized what was going on, is that there was no rhyme or reason as to the way that the pipes were laid out. And so where are you guys at in sorting that out? Because I heard you bring up something about the amount of manholes that nobody knew, had a clue where they were.
Yeah, when we got there, we thought it was 400, but as we continue to discover and find, there's over 500 manholes in this small town. There were 24 lift stations. Lift stations are those things that lift your sewer and move them from point A to the collection point, and then on out to the treatment facility. So it is a very complex, and not many towns have their own system. We're very fortunate because it's our revenue generator, one of our primary revenue generators. So we want to maintain that. So it's about 40, 50, 60 years old in some cases that you wouldn't see this thing other place. So when we get to that point, we replace that with the PVC Schedule 40 type pipes, and then that has a longer shelf life. And if you do it right, you wouldn't have any more problems in that particular area.
So finding these clay pipes, is that a matter of once you fix this part of the system, the other part of the system?
No, it's all discovery learning at this point, because we didn't. That's the other problem. Ideally, you will have a map of all of your systems. You'll have a map of the underground world, the underground infrastructure. You know where all of your manholes. And so when I got here in 2016, that process had begun, but it wasn't complete in terms of establishing this map that you can know that if there's a leak over here, the size of pipe and the type pipe it is. Fortunately, now we do have maps. We all now have them automated. We can look at our phones and determine where the systems are right now, but still don't know what type in terms of whether it's PVC or
clay pipe.
Clay pipe. So once you get down there, now you have to make the adjustment to go get the right stuff to replace it with.
And where was this? Like you came in 2016. Where? So they had already started. They had already begun the process of mapping out.
Yes. That process it was in progress because at that time in 2014, the town was placed under consent order by DHEC because in the previous years we had not complied with those regulations that owners of these systems, you have to keep them, in condition where it doesn't present a public safety hazard. And so then that was not complied with. And so DHEC placed a consent order both for water and sewer, which means it's like any other order, you're required by court order to do these things and these times, at this time span.
At that time, all right, this is what I'm not understanding is they had a consent order when you came in. When did Andrews give up its sewer? Or when did they sign it over to Georgetown?
Okay, another long story, but try to keep it brief. That was in the 1998, 2000 time frame, and that's when Onita was here. So the release of the chemical from the dye that went into the treatment facility, it killed those organisms, those things that treat the water.
Oh, the enzymes.
The enzymes.
Gotcha.
That spill over caused that problem, and then it apparently could not get it fixed. So the agreement was then that Andrews would enter into an agreement with the Georgetown County Water and Sewer District to establish this 20+ mile pipeline, and then enter into another agreement with the city of Georgetown so they can treat this. They have the only treatment facility in the county. So we process, we transport all of our waste to the city of Georgetown for treatment. And that's about $1 million bill, if you will, expense that we have to.
And that's getting ready to go up now because I seen
most likely
where they had a meeting, the city of Georgetown, and they were saying how in order to repair that, and I don't know if that is there's so. Does Georgetown have its own water treatment facility, or is it a function of the city of Georgetown, or is it a private organization?
No, I said the Georgetown city owns that.
Okay.
It's their treatment facility. It's like we had ours. They own that, and so my understanding, I know they treat ours, and I believe they also treat the sewer that the sewer district manages too. So the sewer district doesn't have its own treatment facility. All that goes to the city of Georgetown. So we share the costs.
You said to me that your part of the county is the only part that doesn't have.
We don't have sewer in Oakland.
Well, she's in the rural. Yeah, she doesn't have. You probably have.
Within
septic tanks.
5 mile radius, under a 5 mile radius of the water and sewer plant off of Browns Ferry Road, but we're the only community in rural.
Hold on. I'm thinking this thing in Maryville or somewhere, and they having
the IP canal on 51.
Yeah,
that's where the closest sewer.
Has the community?
Community was divided years before I even knew anything or was paying any attention.
What do you mean divided?
That's the best. Father said no
Oh,
on a bill because now, if I'm understanding it correctly, and granted, we do not pay a sewer bill, but from my understanding, those that do have sewer, they also have to pay their water bill at Browns Ferry Water and then drive into Georgetown to pay their sewer bill. And if they do not pay their sewer bill, then their water would be cut off.
so it's. And so, what do you guys do for trash out in that part of the county? Do you have
Georgetown County, we have a local recycling center, like a stationary center.
do private trash companies can they operate in these municipalities?
Well, I'll say this from my own experience. After my dad, health pull him out his 9 to 5, which he was a truck driver after retirement. After retiring from the Army. Granted, we have a lot of older seniors in our rural community. So what he did was he started going around and picking up people's trash because we don't have a trash system like how the city of Andrews may have. So he went and started picking up the older rural community trash at a small fee and dumping it weekly. And because he started doing that, remember you can take in your household garbage to your local centers. Well, he's been doing that, but because of the vast
amount of
it, he didn't have to start making trips
to the landfill.
Wow. So he started doing that for people also.
And you was about to say something about private trash collecting.
Yeah, you can, but for us, being a municipality, we have our own services. Now, we could have opted, through a vote of the council, if we wanted to eliminate that part of our department and then bring in a private. And that was one of the conversations we had early on in my first term because we didn't have a trash truck that was reliable. And so at one point, there was 3 weeks we couldn't pick up trash back in 2016. But we were very fortunate to find an option to purchase the truck we had now. So one of the options was to bring them in and let them do that. But again, you lose revenue and you will lose the workforce because these men and women that are here getting this small department, they do multiple things. So once they get off that trash truck, then they become a part of the operations for repairs, grass cutting, those things. So they wear many hats. And you just don't have the capacity right now to do all those things in half.
Talk about that a little more about
because you've been in that hole and I still ain't get over there.
Yeah, about the because that is the theme across the board. I even seen where Sheriff Carter Weaver commented on a post that the Georgetown County Council put out where they were blowing their own horn about getting this award for safety or whatever the deal was, and he had a cryptic message, and what I interpreted it as meaning is that they need to fund his police officers. He what he was asking for was a budget, which I don't understand because I think he's getting about 40-something million for a new county jail or something like that. But can you talk about the challenges that a municipality with the budget that you have retaining folks?
Okay, again, I'd like to add context before I answer questions. So back when I was a young man growing up in town, the Public Works, for example, was about 30-member organization. Because again, you had the revenue coming from Oneida, and you wasn't sending $1 million out of Georgetown. So you had all that here to afford to have your own treatment testing facility, which was a part of that structure that the fire department was in. So you had the revenue to have these larger organizations. So when Oneida went away, and then $1 million started going to Georgetown to treat others, then now they had to do a force reduction. So this happened, yeah. So you went from 30, just in public works. We're not talking about the police department, and then in the admin section. So you went down to about 10 to 12 employees, and then some of the more experienced and older employees either retired or changed jobs or whatever the case may be. So now here we come in 2016. That's your voice. and you still now your system is older, so the challenges are growing and your force is reducing. So now so a part of what we do now, we manage with our small staff. We bring in professional services as well. So when we lost our ability to test our system, we now have a contractor out of Conway that does that testing for us, and that's why and it's great to have a third party because we can have folk, that's somebody else telling the story, not us, and it creates a confidence with the community that what's coming out is accurate. It's not coming from us, coming from us and hiding things, which we wouldn't. But you have a third party. We bring in contractors now to do a lot of the work that we should be able to do with our own department. But again, because of the capacity challenges, you just don't have that. So you got to make up that with contractors, and that becomes very expensive. And so you'll look at the end of the year, you see your contracting, bills as this high, and then we did a quote the other day, for example, to repair a broken pipe, which is pretty deep, about 15 feet deep. I didn't want to put my guys in that situation. That quote came back at $22,000. So the work those guys did the other night, our team, that would have probably cost us about $30,000. One job, one area about a foot long, but that probably would have cost us seriously about $30,000. So they may be small in number, but they do great work for us, and it just takes time. But that's what happened to the force. So even the police department is down to a 9-man organization, a 10 with the chief. Again, a reduction of force because of what happened years ago, and you can't make that up in 10 years or whatever. You got to now find
right
because you live off of the resources or the revenue that you generate. And that's your water and sewer, which all that funding have to go to water and sewer. Then you have your general fund, which comes through taxes and other fees through permits and all those other things that funds the police department, your admin section, and those kind of things. And so it's carefully managing and incorporating great business practices.
So can I ask you a question? Because
Sure.
I'm learning as you're talking. So are you all in a contract with the county and city to
Yes.
so when does that contract go away, or how does that look, or how do you get your own treatment facility back up and running? Like, what does that look like for somebody looking outside?
Don't have a clear picture of that because the contract that they entered is almost indefinite, and when you get into a kind of city, you get, let's make the distinction. It's not the county.
It's the city.
No. In terms of the water and sewer district, is a private organization. So you had to give up, if you're a municipality, you got to give up part of your land, which is on Cherry Street. For them now, they own that for all intents and purposes. And so now to get that back, it's probably have to go through some legal conversations and things of that nature. But we're looking at that option because that's what we want to get, because we want that $1 million to come back.
Right.
So
That's the only way how you will be able to put more.
And that right there that's why when I listen to county councilmen talk about how much they care about Andrews, and being that the water is the lifeblood of Andrews, it pisses me off to even think about the fact that SafeRack sits there. Another company, one of which MPW. I was riding behind one of the trucks one day, going down 41, and I was just thinking about, you talk about leakage, and the reason why that's so significant is because you just talked about that drop off you had because of the loss of revenue. Well, that industrial park that sits right on the doorstep of Andrews, like sits right on the town border, that would have filled that gap with the water contracts. MPW is the 4th or 5th largest consumer of water in the county. So Andrews doesn't get that water contract, and Andrews sells water past those companies.
I gotta appreciate him. This guy does his homework.
But
thank you for doing your homework because it's now making me, being from the other side of the county lines, it's an eye opener.
Right.
It's affecting us indirectly, but it's affecting you all directly. And like I tell people from my side, I know you all, either you have a family member that stays in Andrews or you know someone that stays in Andrews. So you should be trying to listen to what is going on because
and we got 2 county representatives, so we should be we should get what we want.
I know that too.
What's that word?
Red line?
Nah, it's another sort of like that. What's the other word? Gerrymandering. There you go. Jerry. I don't know who Jerry is, but Jerry didn't come and split this up. And it's divided racially, like, because I know the makeup of how the community's set up at in the line. Where's the line? Right on the street that he lives on. It divides the city, like the black side and then the white side, but I'm not supposed to notice that, but it's obvious. And what it does, right? It puts either side at a disadvantage because here you got these 2 warring parties who think they got different interests, but they got the same interests. And these people are taking advantage of this because when Lambertown had that issue, we all should have been standing with us. When we have an issue, they should be standing with us. But they think that they have
divided.
Yeah,
the division over here.
They got the white representative, and we got the black one.
Oh.
I mean, that's just how it is. I'm sorry. I'm little men say they're like, God, I can't believe he go. Yeah. Welcome to Issues of Podcast.
And I appreciate you doing your homework because it is obvious in terms of how things are. We had a very in-depth conversation, and a lot of this I'm learning. We went through this whole census 2020, and as I became more aware of how this thing works, it was obvious.
Right.
We had, and I think one case with respect to the how the lines are drawn was brought to my attention when one of our senior citizens voted. I think during one general election, she voted in District 3, and she went back the next and voted in District 3, and she's already now moved to District 5. So that was a big issue. And so it calls me when I see those things. I want to understand more of what's going on, and that's the only for any leader, understanding the details of your business is important. I don't care whether it affects the school, and I'm sure we'll get into this thing here about our school district. Our school. But so as I learned, the lines there, and then I paid attention to all of the discussions about redistricting and what that really means and how it affects, us at the state level and down. And it was an eye opener. And I said, so why? And I know Georgetown, I know with the NAACP, they were very involved in what was happening with the county council and how those lines, were drawn. And I went to those meetings and paid attention. I came back and said, let me look at Andrews. And it was literally carved out and doing these dog legs in terms of catching blocks. And as you look at it, as Mr. Richardson said, it divides the community and by race. Mm-hmm. And so as I listened to, I had the opportunity of listening to some of the attorneys that were representing the NAACP during that time, and I'm listening. It wasn't about, it wasn't talking Georgetown, it was talking another county, which has part of Andrews in it, which is Williamsburg County. So my question was, who's bringing this to the attention of those?
Right.
And it never really got addressed. So it never changed. Conversation. It never changed. So for years, and so what I got after everything was said and done, they said, well, we thought Andrews was okay with it because that's the way it's been for so long. And here's my thing. I don't get too bent out of shape about how lines are drawn, and I know it's important, but if you're in a leadership position, represent the people. Regardless of what your color, your gender, represent the people that you have responsibility for.
Right. That's all I'm saying.
You gotta understand, you see this hat right here? I was in the United States Army for 30 years, 29 years in Asia. months to be exact. And I fought and trained and led people of all colors. So that doesn't matter. When you're watching my six, and you're supposed to be watching my six, I don't care what your gender is, what your color is, as long as you protecting my back and I'm protecting yours. That's the kind of leadership I bring to this position. You're responsible for it. Take care of the people. And if you don't, then go somewhere else and do something different.
Right.
Because you're wasting people's time. And I get emotional about this kind of stuff because when you're a leader, you're responsible for everything that happens or fail to happen. That's just what it is.
I vote on you to do a leadership a leadership for Georgetown County Council.
That's a conversation.
Yeah, and that's what we get into now. Go ahead.
Yeah, but that's the thing. So the lines can be as jacked up as it is. Mm-hmm. But again, if you got caring people that are in those positions, then the people that they represent shouldn't have a concern.
Right.
Because you're going to go wherever and be bold enough to speak up for your folks. And if you're sitting back and let somebody else talk about the problems, but you're their representative, but you're not representing, then it's time for you to go do something else. I mean, and it's that's just the way it is. And I told the folks when I came here, I said when I got a full understanding of some of the challenges we have in front of us, I said, I'm going to have to step on some toes to get Andrews back where it belongs and get us back into this county as partners, contributing partners, because this is a gold mine we're sitting on the way I see it. And others outside of Andrews see this too. So why aren't we equal partners? And so whether there's an unwritten or written plan to write Andrews off, that's what we're fighting against. And we can start to see that now with some of the things that we're facing. And it's my job to get us back into the game, and that's where I am, and that's what leadership is all about.
So, speaking of Georgetown,
if I move to Andrews, what district I need to sit in?
You need to move to 3. You need to move to 3. And so the 2 representatives we got over here is.
I need to look at the street name.
Yeah, and now it depends if you wanted to be represented a little bit, because according to Councilman Everett Carolina, he represents a little portion of Andrews, just a little bit, which I'm still trying to figure out what he was trying to tell me with that. And then if you really don't want to be representative, then you move on this side of Far Avenue. That's Raymond Newton, and you can promise you won't. You can go listen to him talk about the walk him on the neck over there.
Oh.
That's where his interests lie. Hey, Mr. Brown, how are you? Welcome to the podcast. So, Pelor, let me ask you this here about over in you guys there. What is the situation over there with you guys with EMS? How is that situation? How is it being in a rural area? Where do you guys get EMS service from? Where's your EMS, the nearest EMS to where you live?
The nearest hub. So we have a fire in EMS at Dunbar Park, which is within a 5-mile radius. And then we also have one at Browns Ferry Landing, which is within another 5-mile radius.
Who's you guys representative over in your district? What district do you live in?
District 7.
District 7. That is represented by?
Chairman Morant.
Okay, no doubt. And is EMS an issue over in your area?
Well, like I said, the closest is within a 3-mile radius is my house, which is at Dunbar Community Park. But normally we wait on fire and EMS to come from Browns Ferry Landing. So
how far is that from?
Down 51 at Hesterville Road.
You got it.
So that's it's within 10-mile radius. I'd say about 7 miles.
So here in Andrews, we had, for 26 years, EMS was housed in City Hall and rent-free, by the way. I found that out too. Cable, all that.
A lot. County council, y'all been lamping. Can I
chilling rent free, right? And then when they came with so apparently Andrews just wouldn't stop. They need an EMS, so it was just So they came back with an answer, okay, and they came back with this gentleman by the name of Brandon Ellis, who is he's the head of I guess the department head of the EMD service. From what I can find, he was a hurricane guy. He was the guy who plans for hurricanes, but then they sent him there. Apparently, the county administrator said, "Look, come in here and tell Andrews to go away," right? And so he came. And I mean, he said he did this whole thing about, they moved because people were breaking into their cars, right? So I looked into that. They had
y'all got police report?
Okay, and they had a police report, but he made it sound like every time they parked the car, it was just somebody was breaking in the car.
How many?
It was 1 week they had an incident with this one individual who was mentally
similar to like the string of car break-ins in Maryville?
I don't know what you're talking about. What happened with that?
They had a string of car break-ins, last year before last? It was like every other day somebody.
No, this wasn't the situation, and but that's what he led with as to why they moved the EMS, because that's what the whole problem was. The whole problem is first that they moved it, and so you put people at a logistical. It's dangerous, right, to put it on the other side of the town and the railroad tracks. Okay. The second part, and I guess the most troubling part, is they never communicated with the town. They never got with the town and said, "Hey, look, this is what we're doing. Here's why we doing it." They just did it.
So let me ask you this question. You said that the county been in this building for 20 plus years.
26 years.
So they had no watch guard police from Georgetown County in the.
No, what happened was they bought the old Andrews High, and so they decided they were going to move the EMS from there over to the old Andrews High. Okay, and they moved them, and then they just moved them out of the town to Big Dam.
I know. I passed that facility.
Okay, so where has the county reached out to you? Because they said they want to get with you and they're going to do a meeting and all this other stuff. Have they scheduled this meeting yet?
No, we have not.
Since county council, you ain't heard from them?
No, I heard from Councilman Carolina, but we were just kind of rehashing what was
the same thing. He said the same thing in that report.
I ain't gonna lie, he didn't say everything that the people got up and said.
He just repeated it.
Yeah, but we haven't gotten any resolution to it. I've offered to him during that conversation that they could simply go back, patch a few holes where the rain came in, because if you look at the tiles from the top, I looked at every one of them, I have pictures of them. There was a couple of rain spots in the corner, I think in the 2 living quarters and in the bathroom. And that was it. So I say is quick solution again, because every minute counts, something could happen. And, we not get EMS here. So I said, just go and patch the roof. And it's not going to cost you.
But you've been there for 20 plus years.
Well, no. Referring to is
they were over at the town hall. And then they got in the meeting and said, well, they moved because of safety issues. Okay, well, then that brings us to a whole nother thing. So it's unsafe for county officials to work there, but you will let people from Andrews work in the same building while holding.
They citizens of Georgetown County, though.
Okay, and just like this, there's the citizens of Georgetown County need that building, that town hall building that you passed over there that's not done. Yeah, they holding funds from that. Okay, so we could got a rat hole.
Yeah. So the context and these things, and I think as a conversation is being had between the two, there are connecting points for these things. But in this particular case, with respect to the EMS, they were there for 26 years, and yes, we did house it for free because it was necessary. That was the agreement. It was necessary to have that service here. Now, the demand has even increased over the years. And so to your point, back in 2018, the county acquired a USDA loan to repair and refurbish a building that was owned by the county, which is on the Parks and Recreation property. Very nice building, did a great job. They moved in, and they were from there from 18 until the time they moved in December of 22. That's where the problem is. And I agree, you're right. That building wasn't fit for them. It's not fit for the people that are working in now. That's one issue. It's EMS where it was. And the justification that we got through this very brief comment from the guy. And I don't question his qualification. I question their judgment on this, because obviously this decision wasn't made at any senior level. This was made at a department level based on the information I'm seeing and the lack of knowledge from the decision makers.
They didn't know.
They didn't know. Had they known, they would have had an answer by now. They didn't know. This wasn't a part of a well thought out plan. Someone at the lower level made a decision, and now they're backtracking. They can handle that. But I'm telling them right now, just go back and patch the holes, put all of the infrastructure back in that they took out of the last few weeks, which is the
they took stuff out.
Oh my God, they stripped it.
It's gone. It's stripped. All the HVAC, the generator, all that new stuff that they bought with
USDA grant money. Now, I don't know how USDA grant monies work, but I'm sure you're not supposed to buy it for this facility and then take it over to this facility without doing some kind of, I don't know.
Right, that's legal.
Here's my thing. If there was a hazardous situation, I understand it, but a lot of that could have been cleared up this year. Again, communication. It's like, my citizen said to me about the thing on the other night, and they're right. So let's talk, but in this case, we were doing an emergency repair. A lot of things happened. We didn't have time to communicate. In this case, you had, and it troubles me that we can't get the courtesy call from leader to leader, what's going to happen, so we can communicate that to people, especially when you talk about life or death.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of important.
I'm kind of scared, like, as a parent of 2 kids, and like my niece is a citizen of Andrews. So if I was to go to a sporting event or anything in support and something was to happen, there isn't an emergency.
No, we're sitting on a powder keg. Like, just think about what happened in Palestine, Ohio, with the train, and we got trains running through here all the time. So if there was, God forbid, a disaster, there's no plan in place to, like, it'd be Keystone Cops. It'd be just, and
the man in the hole again, trying to figure it out.
There you go.
It's good. And I can deal with some of the other things we don't necessarily agree on. We can work through those things. This should not even be a discussion.
Right.
This should not even be a discussion about medical service and we've laid it out. As you said, they have repeated the things that we've told them in terms of what the vulnerable population we have here, the schools we have. We have four schools to include one private school.
Mm-hmm.
And just a lot of people that their health is, could change any moment.
Right.
So it really troubles me that you can do something like this and not even be concerned about the people.
And the only reason they responded the other night is when you showed them 1,000 signatures, they saw 1,000 votes.
Well, yeah, you're right. You said District 3
Yeah.
Move to District 3.
Yeah.
That's Mr. Carolina District, right?
The good news is that it's not just us. There's other people who are hearing what's going on from the Pawleys Island area, Waynesburg County, which has some of their citizens.
You mentioned about the early off camera. You said something about a resolution.
Well, yeah, that was with respect to.
Okay, yeah, I got you.
We can get to that. But the key thing is that people now outside of Andrews is starting to see what's happening.
Because I didn't know until I went to county council. I wouldn't know what was going on in Andrews, and that's scary.
Right. And it's constant. So it's not just one thing. This happens to be the thing that now everybody can rally around to see that there's a level of unfairness and a lack of concern for everything.
Right. Yeah. And I noticed, let me look at the camera when I say this part here. I noticed that you guys had Ray Tanner on the front page because he's a resident over in Pawleys. Mr. Tanner, you were there. You heard it. And you heard that doctor who was speaking on you guys' situation over there. So we got Ray Tanner on our side is what I'm saying now, and Andrews, but go ahead with what you say.
Thank you, Mr. Tanner. I clearly didn't know as well.
I mean, it doesn't pass the common sense as the human tests.
Yeah.
That you would take this services and understanding that there's a challenge. You can look at the records from the 911 calls, and you can see how many times they have to respond here. And so to say it's okay for it to be 5 minutes, it's not 5 minutes, it's 5 miles.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, they have the right of way, but if you look at the traffic, this is a heavily trafficked road coming from Big Dam.
It's 41.
That's
Didn't I
41.
just say that?
Mm-hmm.
I said that to
So
you.
you're talking, and there's not a whole lot of off-road space where these big trucks, that's a primary truck route.
Yep.
So if someone would have done, just put 10 minutes of thought into the thing, they would have been very clear to them it's a bad idea. But because again, maybe our lives are not worth it over here. We're expendable, apparently, but it's not. We're not in my case, not for me. So this fight will continue. But then you had to look at this thing, and again, I believe that the senior leadership over there now realize this. But you allow a lower level division chief, or probably below his level, to decide to move the service. Frankly, someone should be fired.
Yeah.
Because it's not okay.
And
lives at jeopardy.
And one of the things that I keep striking on is because I know, like, with this hyper racial environment that we live in, things could get divided down racial lines, and I keep stressing to people that this is one of them things that death do not care about what race you are. Okay, and so, but it was beautiful, man, and I just thought it was divine, to watch the citizens of Andrews stand up and come united that night, and it was very good. And we're gonna need that again. Ms. Davis, what's good? Welcome to Andrews, the podcast. We're gonna have to get you in here, Ms. Davis, either tomorrow evening or Monday. But I'll be around town here doing all week. So. And thank you for the donation right there. That is one of my superstar reporters. I'm sorry, I got to break the whole show down and acknowledge one of my star reporters right here. Let me go ahead and drop that ball for you right there. Okay. Again, and let me shout out. I'll get to that because that's going to dovetail right into what we're talking about with county council and the lack of. Thing. So at that county council meeting that I met you at, Ms. Richards, I heard you talking about the historical commission board for Georgetown County, and the fact that Georgetown County does not have a historical commission board, which is crazy because that is the calling card for Georgetown, South Carolina. They say what it's called, historic Georgetown. Yeah. And can you tell us a little bit about why is that important to you?
Well, to me, history is everything. And if you don't know where you come from, you most definitely will not know where you're going. And, just to piggyback off of our discussion that we just had with Andrew's history, Georgetown County Historical Commission Board has been inactive for quite some time. And with COVID, it only pushed it back even more. But now, as an active resident and a mom, of course, as a mom, there's no place that I can go and pinpoint history of a certain thing. I went to the county library, I went to the county museum, and when I'm starting to dig, there's no one location for it. If I want to find out something about Andrews, there wasn't even a lead in the museum or the library to say, Andrews have this site going on, or Andrews have this. Does Andrews have a museum?
Yes, we do.
I didn't even know that Andrews had a museum. Like, these are things, communication. Well, What are you looking for?
So is it
some more a link to go here?
what
Not that.
what does a historical commission board do, and how are these boards commissioned?
I don't know. In
Okay. How are they formed? That's what I'm getting at.
So they're formed by appointed from your county official.
So your county official
appoint someone to the historical commission board from your district.
Okay.
To then, I guess, build onto the history that was already there for the next generations to come.
Because I started looking into the boards, these different boards that they got, and I noticed that because I'll be looking for the T, and I noticed that Raymond Newton is on a board, the board for development, economic development. He is the commissioner and he's the appointment. So how is that something I'm not familiar with? I mean, you with the military background and dealing in corporate and professional, is it? I mean, just from outside looking in, it seems like a conflict of interest to appoint myself to a board.
I'll answer it this way. So for the town of Andrews, we have two. We have the planning and the board of appeals, and so council members and myself, we appoint someone.
Okay, and explain to us, when you appoint, what are you expecting this board? What is the function of this board, of this body?
So you have the one planning, so they should be the one that's a part of the, it's like what we have going on right now with the vision and plan. So that's another body that looks at the development of the town strategic plan.
Okay.
And again, you got to have some really, some expertise to really put one one together. So that's the one for the planning. And then we have the zoning appeals. So then, we have ordinances. For example, that's very active. One of the things that's always get challenged is our ordinance on mobile homes. So several years ago, or a few decades ago, there was established that you can only bring mobile homes into town in its designated zone area, but it can't be older than 3 years. And so, of course, when you, not everyone can afford the new ones, but again, when you want to beautify your community, you don't want dilapidated buildings coming in.
Right.
And so then that policy or that ordinance prevents that from happening. And so then this board, if someone wants to come in and challenge that, they want to challenge an ordinance, then that goes before this commission.
Board.
And they listen. It has a chairman and I think 7 or 8 members from the community, not from Dunbar. Dunbar don't get to sit on that. This is for that affects this community, and I say that for a reason. And so they hear it, and then they come back to the council. So then we conflict of interest that doesn't exist because we're not on there. We hear what they're going through, this very deliberate process to hear the case, come back and make a recommendation to the council, and then we vote on it.
So citizens, if I have and I guess I'm answering I'm asking the questions for the audience, but I think I seen the answer the other day. A citizen can, if they have an issue with a particular ordinance, they can go through the process of having it voted on, having an ordinance brought back up to be.
Yes, for an exception to the policy.
For exception to the policy.
Yeah.
So has that been since in your 7.5 years here, the mobile home issue? Again, we're in a low to moderate income area, so going out and buying a new mobile home is not feasible for a lot of people. Has that come up?
Yes, it's come up several times, and we are very consistent with the age of the mobile home. That hasn't changed. So we haven't allowed anything that's older than 3 years to come into the system, come into the city. What has changed is the rezoning. So it may be an area that was zoned for commercial, and someone came and said, "Now I want this to be for residential." Then we look at that, and in some cases, based on where it is, like in one case, it's out there off of near the ball field.
I think that is as the gentleman from the last, and so he
so we granted that.
Yeah, and so I think you had to go. I don't know if you were there for his whole public comment, but he was. I like what he said, but I understand why the rules in place. He was concerned that some of his neighbors weren't aware of the zoning issue that he ran into, and he wanted to know could the town do like a blanket, and it was explained that no, and so is that something else that you run into, is the fact that a lot of folks just don't know. They find out when it's time
to
make a move.
Happens, it's too late.
And that's generally the case wherever you are. It's knowing the law. An ordinance is the law, and it doesn't become important until you're faced with it. And so ignorance of the law doesn't
Oh, no excuse.
No excuse. So somehow we gotta get them better access to that, and hopefully then they will go in and read it. It's the same thing they learn when you hear some of the cases that come up at the county. Do you really, not just the citizen, but do the elected officials understand what's
going on? Right.
Because sometimes we'll make decisions that it's not in accordance with our own ordinance. And that's why we have attorneys and full-time staff that keeps the elected officials should advise us that you can't make that decision because of this reason.
Right.
Now, if you don't exercise that, then you will get out here and make some decisions that's going to, put you in harm's way.
And I think that's what where Georgetown County finds themselves at, because I know one of the issues is that they don't take the advice of their planning board.
No, they don't take an advice out of not too many boards. I mean, once you're elected, they're gonna speak for all you, with or without, because there's no communication line. That there's a big lack of communication that I personally see and feel from the county council board.
And I'll say this: each individual elected official that serve on whatever council of this county or the town, you're going to have a difference of opinion on probably every issue. That's why it's, in our case, it's
democracy.
7. So then the majority rules, but again, we should be ruling based on what's in writing.
Right.
And so in many cases, I think that's probably where we get off track. And it has have to be, make the best decision based on the laws.
The laws. But back to the historical commission board, I just want Georgetown to tell that balanced story. Like, what you all are going through with the pipeline issue, that's history. That really did take place. And if we don't tell that, then how do we fix that? Or where do we start to even go at fixing it? Because when you came into this problem, you did not know that was the issue, but no one talked about it.
Because nobody kept a good track.
Nobody kept a good track record of it. And that's the history. What is updating in Andrews from the time you came in to now? That's a part of history. That stuff, that's important.
Absolutely.
And not only is it important to be housed in the museum here in Andrews, but it also need to go into Georgetown. Andrews is a part of the county.
Mayor, that's something we might need to consider, our own historical commission board here, because
It's a part.
Even the other night, telling that story about the bus crash.
Right.
That was
I agree. And I'll be honest, that is not something that I've spent enough time on, because again, when you rack and stack your priorities, you can't get them all at the same time. But I agree with you. Now, I wasn't a big historian, even in the military. I wasn't a student of history, but I learned as I matured through the service that you have to understand, how we fought wars, how we defend,
and where the new tactics came from,
how things have changed, and how you adjust to that, and be aware of those things. And so, history is important.
Very much so.
You repeat the same mistakes.
Definitely.
I mean, y'all got on all this black and yellow. I mean, I know last year Andrews High celebrated 100 years.
Yeah.
Like, that was a big thing.
It's huge.
That was a huge thing. Like, and you're saying y'all don't have a commission?
No,
No, we don't have a historical board.
That could have started that first conversation, right? Just within the high school and the history that holds. Like, I don't think too many small towns in South Carolina still has that history or can hold that history.
Well, hopefully with the work that we're doing now, and this year was the first year that we've done, had a full month of Black History, activity, but not just Black history, Andrews history, but that is a major part of it. So we can capture those things, and so with the work that Jamal is doing now through documenting events over time and speaking to some of our elders who was here, and again, the work you're doing now with the bus crash back in 1931, you're talking to people who
got a connection to it. They're like, my grandfather, I talked to him this morning, but that's a whole nother conversation. Because he wasn't here yet. He was born 7 years later, but he told me what happened that night.
But it impacted him because it was a part of his childhood.
And then that's what I'm saying. Like I'm sure he grew up in that story. You know what I mean? Because that had to be. There wasn't an incident like that for 50 years.
Right.
And so, that was big.
And I think that was the first Greyhound.
Well, it wasn't a Greyhound. It was chartered school buses. Yeah. And I think because the next time they had an event, it was a Greyhound bus in Tampa that went over an overpass and like 26 people lost their lives.
But again, when you're looking at a town or a county, there's so many. All things should be captured. I mean, you look at some of our star athletes. You look at educators, and people have gone on and done some really great things in this country that affects a lot of people. Those things should be captured. We all are military, and I'm not saying it but we have some outstanding military veterans here, achievers here. You have some educators. I mean, like Ms. Felicia Rue, who's now I think like the vice president of, if I'm not mistaken, Dominion. One of those, That's stuff that should be captured somewhere and shown, not just the conversation about Chris Rock or Chubby Checker, which Chubby Checker is actually from Tribe. But there are Frankie Cannon, who's an artist, singer. All those things should be in a book or someplace people, our kids can go and say yes and aspire to be that person.
Yeah, we got a young man right now on The Voice from here in Andrews. I got my cousin. She's working on a documentary. Everybody's seen that Good Times picture. So the artist of that picture, they're doing the documentary on him right now. Miss Ernest Barnes. Yeah, they doing a doc, and and so when you hear that documentary, you're gonna be hearing it's coming through. It's coming.
I mean, even the galleries. This family of professional football players. There should be a road down the main stretch.
Yeah,
they have more. The Geathers family have had more people in the NFL than the family.
Yes. At the same time, they've had that story. Yeah, how I was screaming that story
I mean, there's Danny Ray, a young man. I think he was a couple of years ahead of me, but he was like the president of the board for Santee Cooper, and I was invited up a couple of years ago as part of the veterans, recognized veterans, and he's our very own.
Yeah.
Those things should be captured. This is a rich town in love, history. We were known as the friendly town.
Right.
And that has changed a little bit because social media has allowed us to get up here and just keep muddying the water when we should be working together. But we should talk about those things that are good, because that in this social media world and things all online, all that stuff stays on there. And if it's all bad
then why would I want to come here? But love wins. Love wins. So if we can get back to showing each other love, and when I meet people, I tell them, "Wait, my culture is help me, help you, help us."
That's it. That's simple. But it takes a lot of work.
And so, speaking of the big thing right now, and it's starting to become a national conversation, is the Black River State Park. And we sit right in the middle of it. And what I'm starting to hear and see is that a lot of people who have land on that river are just not even. All right, so tell us about the Black River State Park and the vision plan. That give us kind of tell us where Andrews is in this whole process.
And that's what you and I, not just you and I, but your community, Andrews, the entire stretch from Dunbar, which is what's the
Rocky Point.
Rocky Point, which your property is abuts.
So
Tell us
Rocky
about the
Point
land.
is in Choppy.
Okay.
So it's on the other side of the waterway, but it's choppy. And I'm fifth generation to a property that literally sits diagonal across the river from Rocky Point.
Right.
And that's in Dunbar.
Right. So, and I asked that because I want to get to your point. We're sitting, some of us, too many of us are sitting around not aware of this development of this new state park. And we're going to miss the opportunity, the potential economic growth that this thing will bring, and the value that it's going to now add to your property if you're out there. And it's just so many positive things can come out of it. We're sitting idle, we don't know that. So if you're looking from King Street, which is where one end of the river, and I say it like that, where this park starts, and Rocky Point is the end, it depends on how you're looking at it. If you're looking from where you sit, it's the beginning.
I'm about to say, the water. We get fresh water before King Street get fresh water.
Right.
We get fresh water before Andrews get fresh water.
Right.
So I think it's starting down there where I am.
Right, it's a matter of perspective, but it's important perspective because, and my point is, if you're not a part of the conversation, you could be left out. And
Well, that has happened. That's how I feel. Because when I saw you on that video, I was like, well, how did Andrew?
See, so,
Well, how does I literally pulled up the map.
right.
And I said, well, Andrews ain't even on the river like how I sitting on the river. So how Andrews get a part of this conversation?
Well, that wasn't the plan.
Right. So now, so the beginning of the thing, again, with the vision and the insights of Dr. Mariah Whitehead that works as the head of, and I don't know if she's the top of the OSI, which is the Open Space Institute. She saw this opportunity, that this rich piece of, this land or river, body of river, it could easily be a state park. And so now, and I'm kind of summarizing. So they started this effort maybe 5 years ago.
5 years ago.
And probably before then, because
Right.
of our conversations, I'm sure this conversation was being had before it got down to our level that this was happening. And so other people probably started making moves now to position themselves to take advantage of this. So essentially what it is now we have our 40th state park, which is the first state park they've had in the last 20 years.
Right.
Brings it to its 48th state park. And it's going to be Black River along the 70-mile stretch of Black River from King Street down to Rocky Point. But until you name what's the name of your?
No, it's Rocky Point.
Rocky Point.
Rocky Point.
So that's a 70-mile stretch of Black River that's going to become now a state park. And along that stretch, you'll have several stops where there'll be various things you can do in the park. Landings, kayaking, all kinds of things. Some places I think that are right now you can go and stay, Airbnb, those kind of things. So and then when that happens, think about it. That brings people in from all over the country, because a part of this thing, we were very fortunate, myself and administrator, to be a part of the steering committee. So that's the beginning of this thing, is starting to think about what does the people want. And so as a part of this effort, a survey went out that covered not just the state of South Carolina, but it went out abroad. Unfortunately, we didn't have a lot of folks from Andrews and the local area participating.
Well,
so we stopped.
We don't know where that go at.
Right.
Our county representative. They got it
agree.
from the state level and we're supposed to give it out to our people. But
Well, let me add some context to that. So it was good, and again, the foresight of Dr. Whitehead is that no, the survey isn't good enough because it's not reaching, especially in the minority community. For some reason, we weren't filling out the survey, but it was important that we got that input. So we stopped, went back, and then looking at other methods. We went to the churches, having people like Ms. Sue Ham, who has a large following. She started, pushing it out through her contacts to inform people. So those numbers increased tremendously. Still not enough, but then we had the input. but then it still didn't reach down to where you are and through the Gullah community as to what's happening, so you can have some input. But again, the organization went to all kind of lengths to make sure that we had input. They came down, did community meetings, so the folks can come out and give their input. What do you want this park? What are your concerns? Because we do have quite a few landowners along the river.
Right, that's my thing. That would be my thing, because not only would you got more people coming in, but then those that don't have that riverbank access but have the land on the water, now we have to worry about hunters coming in on your personal property to hunt deer, duck, rabbit, coon, whatever, because it's right there on the waterway, and you got it, able that they can get off their boat or whatever they're driving at the time to come onto your property. Then you have to think about, okay, well, within our community, these are public docks.
Mm-hmm.
What state park have you ever visited that was for free? With the docks that I've been going to all my life, now I have to pay. How does that impact the community? Like,
is
the conversation we're missing.
Is the park? Is it a part of the general conversation amongst the people that from your community? Are they talking about it like as a?
No, because it's not blatantly in their face. They're not going to talk about it until it's too late. That's just the truth of the matter.
Well, that's a part of history that has to change too.
And that's a part of history that has to change too.
And we have to get involved.
But then you got to think about it. I brought back Girl Scout of Eastern South Carolina to rule Northwest region of Georgetown County 6 years ago. This year makes 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
When I brought that organization back to our community, because it's been lacking since I've been a kid, since the 90s,
mm-hmm.
Rocky Point was closed to the public. So even though I knew that there was a park that I can take girls fishing, I can take girls camping to, there wasn't no public access to, because they were in litigation with who owns that property. When Rocky Point was developed, and this is only going back off of the history, when it was developed for the Black community.
Mm-hmm.
Browns Ferry Park was created for the white community, and that's in history.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't make this information up. So Browns Ferry Landing was always open, and then when it was closed, they got a new landing. But what happened to Rocky Point? We still fish, we still hunt, we still do all of these things, but nobody was there. So it was in litigation of who owned what and.
Right. Yeah, and I can't speak to in terms of how it was, but I know now that property was purchased and now under the ownership of the state Parks and Rec. Mm-hmm. And so all that will be sorted out. We haven't gotten to what's going to be required for a fee or those kind of things. I haven't had that conversation. Now it's just acquiring the funds now to develop the parcels or the tracks along the way, the different areas where we can go in.
What it needs lighting. There's no lighting out there.
Yeah, all that's
it needs restroom. And you asked the question, well, put solar lights up, or let's do just to bring some kind of lighting. And it's you're too far away from the road.
See, that's a different conversation. That's when it wasn't a part of the.
There we go.
So
these are things that happen.
Now I will tell you this: I just attended the Parks and Green Space Conference in Atlanta, and so it was a breath of fresh air to hear this large community of caretakers of the parks in Atlanta, and now they're bringing in. That was the big one, like the Botanica and all those other things for years. Now they are bringing in small parks like Jones Avenue, mm-hmm. anything that in the community, and then getting them up to a standard where it's acceptable and safe for our kids in this community. I don't think we don't have anything. This is beyond the state park, organization.
Right, federal.
This is the This is the public and the nonprofit organization with the support of the mayor of Atlanta and all these people and all these donors and contributors to this effort. In no time, they raised $8 million to go out and improve these parks. And so we need that kind of effort here.
Yeah, because that's what because the green community, I call it green community, the environmentalist community. These people make it happen, and so that's one of the fears that I have, that we're gonna wait too long here, and they're gonna be already then came down and and then find themselves in it, and then a lot of people will be relegated to picking up paper and cleaning up, becoming a part of the workforce instead of
being a part of the planning force.
Yeah.
Now, to your point earlier, you said that you were closely connected to the Andrews. Well, we are in months into our visioning plan.
Okay. Yeah, there you go.
The visioning plan is going to connect Andrews. So Andrews have 187 acres along the Black River.
Wow.
Yeah. That's where the old treatment facility is, but we have 187 acres. So we are actually connected to it. Lester Creek is direct feed off from the Black River. Mm-hmm. So a part of this plan is now to develop this plan, this concept to connect. Not only that, we're working with SC7, another organization, state level organization, now to connect us from Highway 41 up to the Black River Cypress Preserve. So there's efforts ongoing right now to do that. So think about it. So with all this happening, this park, it creates this opportunity now for more lodging, restaurants, whatever this outfitters. So it's a lot of things, but we have to be in touch before, there's people out there listening.
Yeah.
I'm getting calls from developers and investors about things now when we are still too quiet in the town of Andrews and not preparing ourselves to reap the benefits of this thing.
Yeah.
You see.
And that's how I feel also with District 7, because District 7 is what district I'm in Georgetown County that'll be impacted by the park. Because granted, Black River is 151 miles long. It starts at the mouth of the Winyah Bay.
Yes.
So granted, in District 7, that it does about 3 or 4 or 5 curls before it gets here in Andrews. And it's a lot of people on those curls, bends, and turns that will be affected, but don't understand in what way they're going to be affected. Like, these are properties are being bought up, just like I said about at Browns Ferry Landing. If you travel on Highway 51 and when you cross the Black River, there are actually parcels that you can purchase now that are going to be developed into condominiums on the Black River. But is the residents listening? No. Who's listening? Those that are looking in to come into this community. And granted, you can say that Black River starts in King Street, but you can't take no boat in Black River down there. But you can take one on the boat in District 7 in Georgetown County.
And I think each of these areas where they're developed will have different access points. Some may be able to get kayaks in, the other one probably just be a walking trail, lodging. So it's a lot of things, and they're still thinking through how they're going to develop them. So I'm excited about it.
I'm excited too if I can get a part of the conversation.
Well, see, and so I think it's part of my responsibility when I hear this as a part of the steering committee is to bring that back to I guess the decision makers and then say, hey, maybe we need to have and they're very open to this because I think there was something miscommunicated in the paper after we had gone through this thing and things had started moving, that there was a certain population that was not included in the conversation.
Right.
But knowing how this thing went out and the efforts to reach out, it was there. And now you have to have, if you look at the steering committee, there was not a whole lot of representation from.
Right, and that's the lack thereof, the miscommunication, because you talk about the lodging. We have Airbnbs along the Black River currently. these are places that are going to get missed out of this ball, because when you look at the numbers for tourism here in this sector of the state, there's a $34 billion tourism industry here.
Yep.
But if we're not a part of that planning committee just for the state park, right in our face on our
Well,
front porch,
a bunch of people are just going to be left behind.
Brandon, and I'm not trying to be one of those people, because the Rich River Tours was a vision that came to me over 10 years ago. So to see now that this dream that I have is actually becoming a reality, I had a dream that people were just on the water and was having fun. This is something that I didn't think nothing else of, because this is something I grew up doing all of my life. But to see the vast amount of people that was there was the shocking part. That's what really get my gears to clicking, like, okay, what does this mean?
Well, and I think as we talked offline before, I think you're in a perfect, with the work you've done up to this point, you're in a perfect position now to leverage everything that's happening. You just, only thing you're not there is the conversation, but that's going to change. We'll bring you into that. But in all the preparation you've done, I've seen some of your videos, but you already have your boat. There's the land cleared off.
The river is calling, guys.
You're ready to go. So a lot of people, to include myself, wish I was in a position like you to benefit from this. But we have work to do in this end. So you just now need to get in there and get familiar with where we are.
Okay. And the thing, like, you don't have to be, because I personally don't have property connected directly to the river, but that's not, this state park, in my mind, is gonna need all of this big support system, from things that, from baits, from, they're gonna need somebody to do tours, to you know what I mean.
So somebody to give water safety.
Yeah.
They're gonna need somebody to sell a souvenir. They're gonna need some of this.
Yeah. And so that's the thing, is like, those who are positioning themselves now, they'll come along. And my thing is, because I think there was some question about whether or not you was going to unveil this plan at the Chamber of Commerce, you know what I mean? And I'm at the position, I take the position that we can't wait around for those who not coming. You know what I mean? Like, you could lay it out to them, and like I'm saying, like, people that, and this is how I look at this. This is not something that I plan to directly benefit from, but if I can leave it where those coming behind me can be in a position to where they're not just, observers, like, of this whole thing.
Just a consumer. I want to be a part of the narrative.
There you go.
Now, so in the next 30 years from now, my kids just won't be seeing it as a state park, but they can say, well, mommy helped did this.
Develop this state park, yeah.
Every day in school, because I do work with school kids, they'll say, well, Miss P, we're always talking about the state park. We got to go to the state park. I know for a fact that if there's fun involved, there's also can be learning involved. If you're learning while having fun, that's something that you'll never forget. But we have to make it fun for the next generations, and not only for people that are on the outside looking in of what they can do for Andrews or Georgetown or Waynesburg County, but for those that call this place home, what they can do to attract people to want to visit it, so that they can have things here in the community that are pillars of the community that people want to come and visit. You'll come visit, but don't stay long.
You were talking about funding, and I remember in the last council meeting, the gentleman was saying that you guys were preparing to go and speak with, I think, Senator Lindsey Graham's office. Did that funding come through, or?
Oh, we're still shaping that.
In the process.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but to the credit of Senator Graham's office, they did appropriate somewhere in the neighborhood of about $4 million go towards the piece in King Street to further develop that part of the park. And so there's movement. And so now we're working with this organization, again, it's Earth Design, who's contracted with the town to develop this vision plan. Now, the vision plan not only address connecting to the Black River, that is the overall vision for the town of Andrews to include streetscape.
There you go.
Economic development, all those things encompass it, because if you don't, and that's been one of our challenges is that you don't have a plan.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's what because I know you just mentioned that King Street they got their money, but the reason they got their money is because they already had a plan in progress, or they had
yes, they had some things in progress moving. And so then it made sense. It made sense. And so you got to understand, if you don't have a plan, then you can't sell to the people who hold the purse that you are ready to move forward.
Gotcha.
We use this term loosely about being shovel ready. Being ready to receive the funds is one of the things. But if you don't understand all of that, if you don't have things laid out, then they're going to move to the next organization, municipality, or county who's ready to go. And that has been one of the challenges here. That's not a challenge anymore. So the unveiling of that, it's going to come soon. I think we're going to present something at the next council meeting. But I want to have a community forum, and hopefully we'll have the level of turnout we had when we went down to speak about the EMS or greater, because it impacts the community. This is huge. This is a life-changing.
Yeah, because the first, and I was invited to when they had the boards, when they were when the planning commission was here, and they were taking in input from business owners, from residents, and schools. But when they had the public forum, it was a pour. We had more people that had moved into Andrews, not natives, people who grew up here, went to school here.
Had a bunch of come in no Binyam.
And they were because they you know what I mean? Yeah, because Horry County is filling up. Down south of us, they almost don't have no place to put these people. Okay.
And they gonna come right here.
And they come around here because this is gonna be a part of the attraction. Like, oh man, while we at the beach, let's go, let's go kayaking, And so just us being ready, man, people not coming to the game late. And it's going to happen. So
you gotta be ready. That's the thing. So we'll keep making, giving them opportunities, and but the train has left the station. This thing is going to happen, and prayerfully, people will stop bickering about things that really doesn't matter.
You know what I've been hearing a lot. I'll say a lot, enough to where I'm noticing it, where you got families, and this is. You got families that have property along that Black River, and you got half of the family or part of the family knowing what's going on, and the other part of the family that just kind of don't know what's going on, and you're tied into these
battles.
Yeah, these what is it called? Heirs property battles or whatever. This is me. I'm not a realtor or whatever person, but I just see those situations where those people get ate up. I see, and this is from uneducated knowledge, uneducated knowledge, from uneducated perspective. What I see happening is they're not doing anything with that land, and all this development going on around them, which is going to drive up the tax.
And then it becomes
tax costs, and it's going to be they're not going to be able to afford it. It's not going to be, you know what I mean, because they're not using it, and all these other lands beside them are being used to generate money, which is going to increase the value of those, and your land is connected to it. And by the time you get it unwound up from
right, that's like. I'm sitting here and I'm a piece of property and I have something going on. The mayor is sitting over there and he got something going on, but you're sitting in the middle of these two booming businesses and you're not doing nothing. So what's going to happen?
The question I guess I'm asking is how do you if you're on that side where, hey, look, I see what's going on, and you want to present it to because ultimately you got to get them to agree. How would you approach something like that?
Well, that's a family matter.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's family, so that can get kind of.
Yeah, I'm good now.
Okay.
Yeah. I would encourage those that are in that situation to work it out and not have this internal battle going on and missed opportunities. And I know things get real sensitive when people are talking about property and things that are handed down through, and everybody, believes that it's theirs. In this case, it's just best to work it out and come to an agreement where all can benefit from what's going on, because they will be left behind, and things will happen. There are second and third order effects if you don't take action, and it could be taxes. It could be it's now priced out, but you don't have anything developed there to create any economic growth. It's all kind of things can happen. So I'd say it's start having that conversation yesterday or last year, and work through it and come to some kind of written agreement.
Written agreement, black and white.
Yeah, that this is how we're going to manage this thing, and get into the conversation and move forward. But like I said, where you are, and what I've seen, and I haven't been out. I plan to visit your property because I'm an outdoorsman. I love fishing, so. Whatever your fee is for me to get out there. No, me and my dad coming.
I don't know if I can charge you. You said they only giving you $560. I don't know, man.
Better pay him to come out there.
I might need it. You might need it. Just come on down the road. I don't know if I can take anything from you. I'm not out here to make a whole lot of money. I just want us. I real life want us to be a part of the conversation.
Absolutely.
And I want, even from my personal family, from other families within the community, I want us all to sit down and have those conversations to have a plan in place for the next generations to come. Because if we don't start the conversation now, they're going to have to start a whole brand new conversation in another 30 years or another 50 years. But how do we use this prime time now to help put us in a better predicament later?
Well, I'll say this again: the conversation needs to be had with those involved in terms of family members. I'm willing, as a part of this planning and steering committee, I'm willing to come out and sit down and help them see that. But I don't want to, I wouldn't get involved until the family have an understanding.
Right.
Because I don't want anybody to think that here comes the government. Anytime the government shows up, we here to help.
Okay.
Oh man, yeah. That was one of Ronald Reagan's famous sarcastic saying. Hi, I'm from the government. I'm here to help.
That doesn't go well. So
No.
Right.
I'm a little leery about walking into a heated conversation when it comes down to the sensitive topic like land and things like that. But it's important that we talk about it. And I
encourage you guys, please, if you haven't had that conversation with your family members, to have that conversation with your family members and understand that it may be a whole lot of personal interests and ties. We all got personal interests and ties because it's a part of our family. It was passed down through generations. But pull back some of them layers off the onion first.
Yeah, because these decisions have nothing to do with the people who are making the decisions right now.
Right.
Like you need to have vision. You need to look to just think about the people who you got that land from. Okay, they wasn't thinking about them when they thought, well, let me have this here, so such and such, so and so, they'll have some place where they could be. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so we really gotta hurry and get back to that.
And again, it concerns me that we're not, and maybe it is happening. Maybe the conversation is happening in the house, in the homes in Andrews. But I know for certain. I mean, I'm on this. I've been contacted by this group out of California, and I've had two teleconferences with them. and it consists of investors and all kind of real smart people
Yeah.
that are now setting the stage to come here to see what this is all about. So we can sit idle and remain uninformed and show a lack of interest. But we're gonna have a lot of new
residents. Yes, and it'll end up changing your. That's like I'm watching. Even some of the people. Well, I can't. One of the gentlemen from the county councilman that's on the town council here in town. Councilman Ulrich. I'm nothing against you, Councilman Ulrich, but he ain't from here. I don't know him. He's one of these.
Yeah, come here.
Yeah, and that's what's happening on that Walk 'em on Neck a lot. Like, that's called. I think Paulie's is called Jersey South, New Jersey South, and Merle's Inlet is Ohio South.
But I'll say this to include the gentleman you just mentioned and others that have moved here from upstate. They've come here and gotten involved.
That's what I'm saying about that. At the Planning Commission, there was a family from Pennsylvania, and these people are screaming back like, "Hey, come on down! Look what we found down here." You know what I mean? Or you want to be close to the beach? Yeah. Look what we found.
He's one of our volunteer firefighters.
Yeah,
councilman. You just look. You can look at even the faces on our staff and our public works.
Yep.
PD. These are people who have come here and have taken advantage of the opportunities.
Right.
And not so much us. And that I'm welcome skilled people regardless.
Right. Because you need that.
I would love to see, because you're talking about now workforce, and that's a whole nother topic in terms of the workforce being prepared for these jobs. We're not there. And so when these people come in that already are professionals, come in, like I'm sure, he was in this case, Mr. Ord was a firefighter back, I think, in Pennsylvania. Came in, fit right in, got involved in community activity, those kind of things. And so now, again, where are the natives of Andrews?
Yeah, because again, like I said, he does a good job, but again, we need to, especially like I was having this conversation with somebody when we were talking about the police force or whatever. And now and it was like, oh, well, I don't know it. I remember growing up here, there was always somebody on the force who I knew personally. Like I knew, like this person could be like, oh, I know your granddaddy. You know what I mean? There was always that connection there. And I think it just made, I don't know. I just see the change, and just something that we should be mindful of. All right, so listen, man, this has been awesome, man. Y'all see how fast this time has just.
What time is it?
Well, we already did a 142.
Really?
Easily, and we ain't even. We still got topics to.
No, we got to do another one.
No doubt. So yeah, but that's man. So y'all see how these conversations can go. Tomorrow, everybody will be hopping on this, and then you'll be putting the questions. And I promise you that I am not going through answering your questions. Okay, you have to just get up on the next one and come through, because I can see it now. Well, why he ain't? When you watching it again, he won't be here. This is be a recording, okay? And I won't be able to answer you directly, so don't be coming on here and asking all your questions.
Don't call the mayor office, because he might be in a hole.
Okay. Yeah, that part. Hey, so real fast, tell us about the Beach Avenue project and some other projects that you may have, coming down the pipe.
And I'll try to be brief, but there's not a time that we don't have at least 2 or 3 projects, either in the planning phase or execution. And it takes, again, this is the government, so it takes some time. You got to go through the process. So, for example, right now, we are actively have a, I call him an agent, but having a person go around now with surveys, because we're trying to get qualified. Money come available, and it's a quick turnaround, but the surveys are key to it. So we're now looking at, on Magnolia Avenue, we have some issues with the sewer line.
So when you say survey, is that to to the citizens.
To the citizens. So for this particular grant, I think it's the community CDBG, Community Block Development Grant. So part of that is then you got to show now where these monies are going. It's into the low to moderate income area. So they're not, this pot of money doesn't go to where into. So you got to qualify for it. Bottom line.
Gotcha.
And so then the survey is key to that. So they come out, it's a one pager, and it asks, a few questions, and some of it is part of your one of it is your gross income, that kind of thing. All that's concealed. That information doesn't go anywhere. It goes as a part of the official packet that goes forward to qualify for this.
How much of a challenge is it for you to get this information? How much of a challenge has it been?
Well, I think we've learned a lesson because there was, I think it was last year, we had the same opportunity.
And that's why I brought that up, because I remember, I don't remember the specifics, but I remember the town administrators being a little kind of annoyed at the fact that, we want to get this done, but we can't get the people to fill out the survey. So
yeah, I was a part, it was me, the Pro Tem, Councilman Eddie Lee, and others on the ground going around, because again, money pops up sometime, and you just have to go out and beat the ground to get, in this case,
before it runs out.
Before it runs out.
Okay.
Because it's all competitive money. So not only Andrew's going for it, there's other municipalities that are going for it, but then they cater to those that are low to moderate. So you're not a rich community, and you don't generate enough revenue to fix all the problems you have. So that's
where the
money comes from. But they need to know that this money is going to
XYZ, how many people,
into an area that it's going to affect those that don't have the not rich or wealthy, for lack of a better term. So in this particular case, when we went out, we were going to cover the challenges we have on Morgan Avenue and Beach Avenue. Beach Avenue was one of the worst, it's still one of the worst roads in town. Just potholes, they got about 15 to 20 patches over the last probably 20 years, and it just never got right because that water line is eroded, and it pops. Every time we fix one, more pressure goes, there it goes to the weakest point. So anyway, long story short, we went out door to door we have to get everybody along this service line. Only the ones along the service line have to fill out a survey. Well, Beach Avenue, the folks along Beach did what we asked of them. That went through. The ones that were affected by the problems we're having on Morgan did it for one reason or another. So I'm saying, but I know we went door to door. I was there. I did it. And for one reason or another, it wasn't turned in. So that portion did not get approved. And so we still have those challenges. Beach Avenue, it's a year plus later, but we got the funding, and now the construction is ongoing not as we speak, but it's going on right now. And so that whole entire road will have a new line. The 2-inch will be increased up to a 6-inch line, and it'll go from, I think cover about 5 blocks. And then once that's in, then it will be totally resurfaced, so a brand new road, brand new infrastructure. Now this money just popped up, and we had, I think, about 2 weeks to turn this thing around. So we got all this stuff prepared, and credit to Mrs. Jenny Hunt, who's now has the surveys and going door to door to get folks to fill them out. We got to get them back by.
Shout out Jenny Hunt, the Andrews Beautification Beautification Group.
Yeah. Okay. So she accepted that challenge, and she's going to go around and get it to the people so they can fill them out. And we got to. It's going to be like the courier has to take them up to Columbia to meet the timeline. It's short. In this particular case, it'll be Magnolia Avenue from Main Street down to Alder. That will address the sewer pipeline. And then off of Rosemary, we'll replace that 2-inch water line, which has, for a year, well, not for a year, for months, those people had very low water pressure. We found that maybe 2 months ago and repaired that valve, which they have great pressure now, but the line is still old.
Gotcha.
So that will take care of that problem, and prayerfully we will get the roads, resurfaced with these funds as well. But that has to happen now. So if we don't make the deadline, or we don't get the surveys first, then we won't qualify for it. It's that simple. That's the critical piece of this process, is getting those surveys, and they can assess where this money is going.
So let me ask you this question. Can the people come to town hall to get these surveys?
Yeah. They come to town hall. As long as you get it back to us and we get it there, and that's
No, can they fill it out with?
Yes.
Will there be someone to help them fill out the survey to hand it back to you right then and there?
Yes, we do. Yes.
How about the churches? Have the churches been
Well,
helping?
because it turned so quick, and we just got them out just before the weekend, and so. But yes, we love to utilize the churches for this, because that's one of our key communication venue avenues, if you will. But not this time. So it's only about 30 homes affected.
Okay.
So you can really get to those. It's 2 blocks. I mean, two roads, maybe a total of about 15 blocks, maybe.
Gotcha.
So it can be done. And we'll get out there Monday if we have to. And I'll be out there going door to door. We've already spoken to some of our.
$560. That's what I was about to say. For $560. Listen.
Y'all know how to walk that dog.
Okay. about $15 a day.
No, 'cause you gotta add gas.
Oh, and they tax that. Do they tax that $560?
Well, it's 600 maybe.
And it costs $560.
But it's not about the money.
For me, it is. I'm gonna keep it real with you. If I'm your mayor, trust me. That 3 point. What y'all made? Y'all budget about 3.5.
3.9.
3.9. Yeah, y'all budget be 3. Okay, listen. See if you vote. I'm telling you right now. All right. So you'll be like, I think he's stealing. Yeah, boy, he is. But man, that's just. I listen. I appreciate you. I love what you're doing for the town. I know nobody can get everything right. You can't make everybody happy, and you do it with a sense of class and dignity that I definitely don't have. Okay, so I'm keeping 100 with you because I was just but it is I don't know where the town of Andrews. I know where the town of Andrews would be without you right now, but just thank God for the 1,000-year flood that pushed him all that's what pushed him back here. That flood. Oh yeah, the flood. Listen. This something that I do my research, right? The town was surrounded. Andrews was surrounded. There was water coming up, right? And we had a mayor at the time who I don't know if he left town or not, but he didn't know. But at that time, now that was probably the best decision that the mayor has ever made, or that mayor made during the time. And mayor now had literally just retired from the military, and came and became the mayor. Pretty much made him the mayor without voting for him. Like, hey, look here, go, please.
I know what some kind of deal was.
Please, come help.
It been a good deal.
It was for the town, and then he was able to come in and do, really manage things and get us through that point. So he came in
boots on the ground.
That's to steal a phrase from him.
Yeah. Boots on the ground, a whole nother meeting.
I don't think they told him about the pay at that point. I don't think that was a discussion. I think they probably don't tell you that until after you just swore in. You gonna take the job? Yeah. Okay, now so here's what you be paid.
I like it.
So again, I appreciate what you do here. I go to town hall meetings. It's it's totally different from what you experience in Georgetown County Council meeting, because for one thing, the mayor pro tem, who doesn't work hard as me. Now he gonna tell you he do, but he don't work hard as me. Okay, when it comes to the town of Andrews, that's the battle me and him got going on. But anyway, because he gonna write down, he's listening to your comments, and if he don't, what your name is? And that next Monday or that Friday morning, he'll be there. You know what I mean? And so we got these kind of people that's pushing. We got Miss Anderson, Miss Angie Anderson. She's got the GED program going on, working with Howard, and we still need people to sign up for that. So,
but I want to say this too. It's actually a team effort. A lot of times, you're the head of an organization, you're going to get blamed or get the credit. But this is obvious. Like you said, you just called some key people that's a part of the thing, because there's so many aspect to this organization or any organization. And so one man or one woman can't get it done by themselves. And so it's helpful that, and then when the community comes together, then you're gonna see a force that's it's gonna move things.
Right.
That's the mission. That's the kind of the piece where we're not the strongest. And so, but everybody in their respect. Now we're not gonna agree on everything, but then we're gonna move forward. And I want to give them credit for the effort they put in as well. I mean, and I want to say this because I think there's a misunderstanding about even the fire truck. We just were very fortunate to get that was a lot of hard work on our fire department who and people say, well, it's not needed because we got this. Well, that was initially mine, but not in this case. We had this conversation a couple of years ago. But when you say, why do you need a ladder truck? Because you only have a couple of buildings that are 2-story high. Well, as you grow and understand and look around, you got to look outside. So our fire department and and not so much the police department in terms of area, they cover a 6-mile radius of the county's area. Okay, so when you look at this thing, this ladder truck adds value and it impacts people's insurance. You look at the 2 industrial parks that's just right outside. That's within that, so if I am the manager or the plant manager of Safe Rack and there's a truck, a ladder truck that can project water from a distance, and
the insurance, that's very important.
So it's not just about Andrews. We do a lot of work outside of
community effort.
It's a community effort. And then we could partner. And the next ladder truck, I think, is in Midway, I believe, or maybe Georgetown had one. But we have 2 industrial parks just outside of our city limits. So we got to look broader than that. It was an opportunity. Now we could not afford a $750,000 truck, but this truck, again, on the work of our leadership in the fire department.
Okay, where did that? Because that's the question. Where did the money come from for that?
Well, that money was a part of it actually came out of the budget. So the equipment, so they cut, half.
It came out of the fire department's budget.
Yes. And I won't get into the cost, but they take, proper management,
proper pay cuts.
Well, no pay cuts.
Just manager was there.
So now, as you, and again, the budget is a projected thing.
Right.
You anticipate, you may have some savings here because in this maintenance area, you may not need all of the money because you're doing things. So it's constantly being on top of your game, understanding where your funds are going and managing. I mean, you managing down to the dollar the way we do business because it's important. And so here's an opportunity almost at the end of the year. We have what is April. You got a couple months before the end of the year. So now you can take that. Now it's incumbent upon the chief of the fire department now to manage what you have left.
Right. But
it was an opportunity. This truck is in great condition, and so it made sense. It didn't hurt anything. It actually added value to a lot. Greater than Andrews. Now we hope to have to never use it, but we have it if we need it.
Right.
Okay.
Let's be prepared and not waiting.
Right. Exactly.
To get
proactive instead of reactive.
Exactly. And if you look at how our main street, even this building, everything is connected. God forbid something happens, you're not going to be able to get on top of it with a single truck. So you got to think differently about the things. And so kudos to those guys, kudos to the staff who work. I mean, and we competed for this thing. And again, relationships matter. Fire department leadership has a relationship with the department we got it from, and we made it happen. And so the staff working with them, it made it happen, and it's a good deal. It's important. Right. And so I just ask people, before we start to criticizing, and they got to understand too how money works. Not when money comes down from the state, it comes down for a specific reason, and that's where that money goes. Yep. It is tracked by the state, not by Frank McClary. Yeah, no. I don't get to spend that. I don't get to say, hey, I need this for this road, and then put it into a fire department. No. So the lack of knowledge and understanding of how this thing works caused us to make some comments that really hurtful to the progress. But it's not going to stop us because we're going to continue to do what's right and do what's best for the town. And so that's just the way it is. So I wanted to address that because I know that's kind of out there. It was out in the air, and we have to understand that just don't speak on things you don't have any knowledge on, because it could be hurtful for the town. We put a lot of thought into what we do, and it's not about everything that's happening right now. It's about the future.
Right.
Yeah, put
Generations
things
to
in
come
place.
in a better predicament than when we got it.
And that speaks to a lot of the decisions that were made, like you say, with the A tax and just different things that they made decisions that's causing us issue now. And I don't know what they were thinking back then, but I don't think it was carefully thought out, like you said, for the second, third order effects of decisions that you make.
Yeah. That's as a leader, that's where you spend your time, is planning and analyzing and making decisions. Some of them are quick decisions, but if you don't know where you are, you're going to make a decision that's going to have catastrophic consequences. So that's kind of where I am. And I just want to say shout out to all of the soldiers that were part of the invasion of Iraq 20 years ago.
Yeah, this is normal fighting season for you right now. So you right in. He left one war, came to another one.
Only thing changed was the demographic.
And the pay.
He wasn't not that.
In the pay. No, I'm not letting that go. In the pay.
It is funny. Shout out to my third line soldiers and 37th Infantry, cotton balers, man. Those are special people. If you talk about team and family and working towards a common goal, that's all I understand. And so I'm adjusting to chaos and people rowing in a different direction. But when we start rowing together, you can see us making waves in the right direction. So thanks, guys. Shout out to those soldiers, sailors, and Marines and airmen that are still out there getting after it.
No doubt.
Serving, guys.
No doubt. Listen, so we have crossed the 2-hour mark, and again, this conversation can go on for a couple miles, but we're not going to do that. We're going to put a pin in it right now, and so again, we're going to do this again, and definitely want to have you on again. I know that's going to make. I just wanted to know. Did Scott ever ask you that question after he assaulted you in the?
You're not talking about that.
I couldn't help it, but I just needed to know. Did he ever get to ask that question?
Well, I think that whole episode, the question that he was asking me wasn't about anything.
It was why you won't talk to him.
It's why I won't interview with him.
And he'd talk to the podcaster. Well, He's on the podcast.
Scott and I mean, we've had a good relationship. Things are, not really because, long story short, I want transparency, but then, it has to be conversation about the good. This is balance, and we're getting there. We don't have spoken since then. We're in a good place.
I thought we were in a good place. Me and him, he told me we were gladiators, and I'm like, cool. And I started doing some gladiator stuff. Man, they trying to block my account.
Well, I'm standing for a balance, George.
Yeah.
Just a balanced play area.
Yeah, we, nobody's trying to hide anything. If it's not good news, tell it. But just gotta make an effort.
Right.
And that's everybody. We're not talking
do the same thing you do for Georgetown Mayor that you do over here. Yeah. Okay? That's all I'm saying. He ain't got to say it. I say it. I'm going to go ahead and say that. Okay?
So I appreciate what you're doing.
It's all good.
Because, it's important. And he don't show me any favors. It's like he'll tell you. If it ain't right, he's coming.
He on it.
He's on it. And he's doing good stuff for the town, and not just for town. Look at his work. It's even out, Walter.
Yeah, and it brought me interest because I didn't know. I wouldn't know if he wasn't talking about.
Hey, y'all just got to come hang out in Andrews. Welcome to Andrews the podcast.
My days in Andrews is many moons ago, but I'm glad to be back in Andrews.
No doubt. In
the right direction.
Y'all see it on the screen, www.richrivertours. Okay. Hey guys, it's been great. I want y'all to go ahead and give me some last thoughts. We'll start with Ms. Richards. Give us some last thoughts where they can find you at. Shout out again. Y'all see my sponsors got their stuff together and brought me some more bottles here.
Yeah.
Had me here with that one.
Like how people talk about me. So.
Had me with that little one bottle over here last night.
It's good?
Yes. Really
okay.
good.
Thank you for that review.
Yeah, really good. And healthy.
Yeah.
Yes.
So tell us where we can find this. I got this up on the screen.
So Gullah Goods and Gifts is where you can find that, and that is our Gullah Sorrow juice. It has 10 great benefits to it. And you can find us at Gullah Goods and Gifts on social media on Facebook. But you can also find me at richrivertours.com and come and book a tour with us, guys. The river is calling. It's about to warm back up. Don't let these rainy days get to you because it's warming right back up real soon.
Okay, Mayor.
Hey, again, thank you for this opportunity. I know it's late, but again, they'll get to see these things, and I'm available anytime as a part of the need for communication. I think this is a good platform for that, and so whatever time it is, I'll come out. I'll sleep when I can. But the good thing is that the town is moving in the right direction. There's a lot of good things going on, and I like to spend my time getting it done as opposed to talking about it. But I know it's important for people to know now. So we'll improve on the communication piece of that and try to use all platforms. But I am very excited about where we're going. There's a lot of work that's going on and that's going to be happening. And so just stay tuned, and I encourage all to come and be a part of it, so we can tell our story, make it history,
yes,
capture that, and do those things. So we'll keep plugging at it. Okay, appreciate it.
And that's what it is, man. We're gonna say good night on that part right there. Again, y'all hit that like button as y'all. Well, if you've been in here this long and you hit that damn like button, you need to join a new church, because your pastor, you've been in this long and you hit that like button. Hit the like button on your way in this, and we're gonna do this again. Again, I'll be based out of town this week, so we'll be able to get this in. Again, Miss Davis, I'm looking forward to getting you on here. And
she's still awake?
Oh yeah, Miss Davis rock with me. Trust me, man. Okay, if I go on 4 o'clock in the morning, Miss Davis gonna rock with me. I ain't worried about. I got somebody gonna listen to me.
At least somebody.
That is. You know what I mean? So all right, with that, we're gonna check out of here in 3, 2.